Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how you can make a scratching tool for scoring your clay. What we're trying to do is make a tool that's similar to this one. This one has 6 needles poking out of the end. It has a retractable cover that makes the needles so they aren't pokey. We aren't going to make a retractable cover, but we're going to make this tool out of things that you might have around the house. The one thing that you may have to purchase for this is an epoxy. An epoxy is usually a 2-part solution that you mix when you're ready to use it and then apply to whatever it is that you're trying to adhere. This PC11 epoxy is great for sticking together broken pieces of sculpture or adhering a hanging or a mounting cleat onto the back of a piece. It will be fine for this too, although it's a little bit overkill. The clear 2-part epoxies that you can get at the hardware store, whether they're 5-minute, 30-minute, or 1-hour epoxies will be great. This one happens to be a 24-hour epoxy. So what we're going to do to start is you'll need some supplies. You'll need your epoxy. You'll need some paint sticks. I have a couple here. You'll need a saw. And then you'll need some scraps of wood. I have one scrap here that I'll mix the epoxy on, and then another scrap that I'll use to remove the epoxy from each container. Ideally, I'd like to have 2, but I'll make do with 1 today. You might use these putty knives as well, but the problem with using these is it'll be a one-time use. You will not be able to clean these very well. So I like to use disposable materials. The other thing that you'll want are some sewing needles. So I have this kit of 30 assorted needles here. I'll probably use at least 5, and I'll try and get one of the smaller ones. You may also want some low odor mineral spirits to help smooth out the epoxy if you're using the PC11. Okay, so I'm going to start by getting my needles out of the case here. As I mentioned, I'm going to try and use the smallest needles. What I'm going to do next is take my paint sticks, and I want to saw off the ends of these. So I happen to have a pole saw here. Any saw is fine. It does not matter whatsoever. Just cleaning those up a little bit. And now I'll start mixing my epoxy. So I'm going to show you the insides of these containers. These will last for quite a while. This is a white epoxy when it's dry and cured, more like this side than this. One of these is going to be kind of oozy and the other one's going to be kind of gooey. Those are technical terms, but it doesn't really matter too much. I'm going to pull from the white side first. Oh boy, my stick broke. Let me try something else. This epoxy happens to be quite old. I think it will still work just fine for the job, but it's coming out a little harder. The main thing here is that you want to have equal parts of each part of the epoxy for the best cure strength. Again, for making this needle tool scratcher, the ratios aren't going to be quite as crucial as if you're making a 500-pound sculpture. I am using the same stick for both. I don't recommend that just because if you leave some of part A in the part B container, it will cure. Then you'll have chunks. I'm looking to get roughly equivalent parts. That looks about right to me. So I'll put that stuff back in. Cover these up and set them to a side. Now, what I want to do is stir these 2 parts together until it's a mixture without streaks. do now is apply just a little bit of this all over the surface of my paint stick. It's going to look a little bit like an ice cream sandwich. The nice thing about using sewing needles rather than pins is that they'll have the eyelet on the end, which will trap epoxy inside of it and make it less likely that they'll slip out as you use them. So now I'm going to take each one of these needles and place them on the epoxy, trying to space them fairly evenly. Okay, now I'll take my other stir stick and just rest it right on top and then smush it down into place, wiggling it back and forth just a little bit as I do. You can see that kind of moved these needles a little bit. So I'll just go about getting those arranged. Maybe actually I will use that needle nose pliers. So with the mineral spirits on a gloved finger, you can smooth the edges of your epoxy. This is purely aesthetic. You don't have to do this, but it will make your tool a little nicer to hang on to. And that is that.